Imagine being told your prison sentence isn't just for a few years, it's for life. Sentenced over 8 years meant exile for life. Not just life in a cell, but life in a place designed to kill you. That was the reality for men sent to Devil's Island, a French penal colony off the coast of South America, a one-way ticket to a living hell. Under the blistering tropical sun, the guards didn't need to execute you. The island would do it for them. The journey was the first test. Men crammed into cages below steamship decks, heat unbearable, disease spread like wildfire. Many died before seeing French Guiana's shores. When you think of an inescapable prison, one name comes to mind: Alcatraz. It sits on a lonely island in the middle of San Francisco Bay. The views of the city are beautiful, but for the inmates they were a cruel joke. They could hear the sounds of life from the city: laughter, music, church bells on a Sunday morning. Alcatraz wasn't built for your average criminal. Built for the men other prisons couldn't handle. The prison was designed to be the end of the line. Escape artists, gang leaders, Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz, ornithologist in solitary. For the men inside, a concrete and steel tomb, to live and die forgotten by the world. Life inside Alcatraz was a study in soul-crushing routine. Every second of an inmate's day was controlled. The wake-up bell rang at 6:30 in the morning. Prisoners had to get dressed, make their beds, and stand by their cell doors for the morning count. The silence was deafening. Speaking without permission could land you in solitary. This silence was a form of psychological torture. Solitary confinement in a lightless pit was the most feared punishment. The cells were tiny, just 5 feet by 9 feet. Each cell had a small cot, a toilet, a sink, and a small shelf. That was it. For over 23 hours a day, inmates were locked in these concrete boxes. The only view was a small barred window. The wind whipped in off the bay, chilling the concrete cell house to the bone. Work was a privilege, not a right. Only the best-behaved inmates were allowed to leave their cells to work. It was a chance to feel useful, a brief escape from crushing boredom. But any misstep and you would be sent straight back to your cell. In the remote wilderness of Russia near the border with Kazakhstan, lies a prison so harsh it makes others look like holiday camps. It's officially known as Penal Colony No. 6, but everyone calls it Black Dolphin. We're talking serial killers, terrorists, and cannibals. Every single one of its 700 inmates is serving a life sentence. There is no hope of parole. There's no getting out. The only way an inmate leaves Black Dolphin is in a coffin. When inmates are moved outside their cells, it's a terrifying ritual. They are forced to bend over at the waist, hands cuffed behind their back. They are blindfolded to prevent them from learning the layout. It sends a clear message. You are not human. You are cargo to be moved. The cells are like cages within a cage. Each cell has a solid steel door and behind that, a second door made of steel bars. The inmates are under 24-hour video surveillance. Guards make rounds every 15 minutes, peering into the cells. You are locked in a box with a monster, and you might be a monster yourself. The day at Black Dolphin begins at 6 a.m. sharp. A loud bell jolts the inmates from their sleep. They make their beds with military precision and begin their morning routine. Guards inspect everything. A speck of dust can mean harsh punishment. This isn't about hygiene, it's about discipline. Breakfast is grim. A small portion of kasha, a piece of bread. Meals are eaten inside the cell, in silence, under camera. Morning is monotonous waiting, sit, stand, forbidden from lying down. They may read. Books chosen by the prison. Hours crawl by. A slow-motion torment of boredom. 90 minutes daily for exercise. Not a yard, but a small concrete cage on the roof with a tiny patch of sky. Walk a few paces back and forth like animals in a zoo. Guards are emotionless, they never use names, only crimes. Hello, murderer. Stand up, terrorist. Night falls, final bell lights out. They sleep, but it's little escape. Tomorrow will be the exact same day all over again. Deep in the high desert of Colorado sits a prison that is the modern-day equivalent of Alcatraz, ADX Florence. It's a supermax prison, the most secure in the United States. This is where the federal government sends the prisoners it considers the most dangerous. Men like the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, Zacharias Moussaoui, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Inmates are held in solitary for 23 hours a day. Cells are almost entirely poured concrete, bed, desk, stool, a concrete tomb. A single narrow window, 4 inches wide, angled upward so all they see is a sliver of sky. Meals delivered through a slot. Any communication with staff is done through a speaker system. When moved, shackled hands, shackled feet, escorted by multiple guards, they never see another inmate. The prison is a maze of silent, automated steel doors. The psychological impact is devastating. Paranoia, chronic depression, hallucinations. Many inmates experience severe mental breakdowns. The punishment is the slow, crushing weight of absolute solitude, a cleaner version of hell. In prisons designed to be inescapable, the dream of freedom becomes an obsession. It fuels some of the most ingenious and desperate plans in criminal history. At Alcatraz, the formidable waters were the biggest challenge. But that didn't stop men from trying. The most famous attempt was in June 1962. Frank Morris, John Anglin, Clarence Anglin. They spent months planning. They used sharpened spoons to chip away at the crumbling concrete around the air vents. To fool the guards, they made dummy heads from soap, toilet paper, and real human hair. On the night of the escape, they crawled through holes into an unguarded utility corridor, climbed to the roof, and shimmied down a drainpipe. They launched an improvised raft and slipped into the dark, freezing water. Never seen again. The FBI concluded they likely drowned, but their bodies were never found. Even from Devil's Island, some men found the courage to attempt the impossible. Henri Charrière, better known as Papillon, claimed to have made numerous escape attempts, building rafts from sacks of coconuts and studying the tides. His story inspired a book and a film, though historians debate its accuracy. The dream of escape kept men alive in places designed to make them give up. When we compare Devil's Island, Alcatraz, and ADX Florence, we see a fundamental shift in the nature of punishment. Old prisons were brutal in a very physical way: hard labor, starvation, disease. The cruelty was raw and direct. Alcatraz represented a move toward structured brutality, silence, monotony, isolation. It stripped identity and individuality. It was about grinding down the human spirit rather than killing the body outright. Today's supermax prisons have perfected psychological warfare. Clinical, sterile, almost invisible brutality. The brutality is less about whips and chains and more about sensory deprivation and social isolation. Technology enforces total control. Cameras, automated doors, seamless systems where resistance seems futile. You are alone in a concrete box. The enemy is in your own head. The shift is from breaking the body to erasing the mind. Quieter, sterner, but devastating. A system so total that resistance feels futile. A darker, more modern cruelty. The stories of these infamous prisons have left a deep mark on our culture and ideas about justice. Alcatraz became a symbol. A place for the worst of the worst. The final stop for those beyond rehabilitation. This idea shaped modern prison systems. Remote locations, constant surveillance, strict control over movement. Movies and books fueled public support for the supermax model. These prisons force us to ask, what is the goal of locking someone away? To punish, to rehabilitate, to protect society. Places like Devil's Island show punishment as a death sentence. ADX Florence raises questions about cruel and unusual punishment. The legacy shows up in architecture, remote sites, reinforced walls, cameras, and automated systems born from the arms race between inmates and authorities. Every escape attempt leads to new procedures, locks, and stronger walls. Ultimately, they serve as a dark mirror reflecting our fears about crime and justice, showing what we're willing to do to those who break our most serious rules. From the physical agony of Devil's Island to the psychological torment of ADX Florence, it's the evolution of control. Behind the walls, the debate over what it means to be humane continues.